This is the Anything But Banker to Broker podcast. We're going to be talking to some of the industry's best and brightest about the unique pathways they took before stepping into broking and how it set them up for success. Thanks for listening. All right. How you doing, everyone? So we've got Rory on today. He's the co-founder of Aurelius Capital, and he set that business up with Samara Sweeney. Shout out Samara. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we're here to get into is Rory's upbringing, I guess what got him into finance. He dropped out of school. He's not a fool. I don't consider him a fool, but he did drop out of high school. But yeah, we're here to talk about, I guess, what's put him on this pathway to get into finance and what the journey's been like and what the future looks like. So thanks for coming on, mate. How are you getting on?
Pleasure. It's been a long time coming trying to get onto this podcast. We had to delay it twice nearly, so we're here.
Yeah. Well, what you're lucky is that the cadence of how the episodes are going out anyway. Lucky for you, you've not messed anything up, so we're all good.
Yeah.
It's still going out when it's supposed to go out. That was the only issue I had.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too, mate. So talk to me, right? So obviously you got into finance, I think, as soon as you left school realistically, but what was school like for you and what was childhood like?
I was good at school. Like, I wasn't dumb. A lot of sport, but I hated school. Just hated it. Didn't want to be there. Liked the likes of business. Just wanted to make money. Did my NCA level 1 and 2. Had enough credits that I spoke to my business teacher one day and he said, "Why are you still here?" And I said, "I don't know." And then it was just like, bugger it, I'm done, and dropped out and just jumped straight into work. I already had a part-time job. This was before finance, just working in retail. Worked there for a little bit and then, jumped into finance and into property. Did that for a while. And then, from quite a young age, I wanted to be in finance. I mean, from the movies and stuff in America, that's where it kind of, I guess it probably stemmed from. I grew up poor anyway. So it's just like, when you grow up poor with no money, all you want is money. So that's where it's kind of came from. And I just wanted, it was either real estate or finance. And I've been lucky enough to do both. And in the property side, I've been lucky enough to do not just real estate itself and commercial and residential, but also the development side. I worked for a developer selling properties, quite a lot of properties as well. And not even that, then taking on the project management side of building these properties, pumping out 60 dwellings a year, and managing that whole thing, managing builders, contractors, everything. So for me, that's where it kind of stemmed from. So I wouldn't say, I dropped out of high school because I was dumb. I just knew that high school just wasn't for me. I wasn't planning to go to university. If I've got a degree, it's from the streets, really. And that's where it's come from.
Is your school system very similar to Australia's in that you carry on until you're 18 and that's when you're kind of supposed to be out of school?
17, 18. I dropped out, a few years before that. I mean, you've got primary, intermediate, then you've got level 1, 2, and 3. Level 3, you're going to be 17, 18 when you leave high school, and then you're going to go into the uni.
Yeah. And if you were, say, doing something that was more focused on trades or something like that, is there opportunity for you whilst you're still in high school to start building that foundation? Or is it you're still doing all your English, your maths, all of that, what I consider to be the boring part of school?
Yeah, I hated all of that. The only classes I really excelled in was business. I did business and economics and then sport. That's where I shine. Like I was always not going to class and going to the gym or, sporting programs, athletics. That's where I kind of shined. Hated mathematics. I actually hated mathematics. I wasn't actually good at it. It's been something I've had to over time get good at. Hated English, hated everything else. Was barely at school, but I still got my grades done. But then dropped out.
Yeah, it's funny, mate.
Went straight into working.
I enjoyed maths more than I enjoyed English, and I did better in English than I did maths. So there's obviously a misconception sometimes that to do well at something, you actually have to enjoy it when it's not the case.
You don't. Yeah, people think you have to be good with numbers and finance. Yes and no, you don't really.
Yeah, you just need to know the tools that are at your disposal, and you need to understand if it's a deal or not. Like being good at maths is useful, but being a good salesperson is probably the most important thing, right? And understanding where people's problems are and being able to connect with them.
Yeah, I learned sales very young. I've done a lot of sales, real estate, property. You have to learn that really quick.
Yeah. And you grew up in Christchurch, is that right?
Born in a actually wine country in Blenheim in the South Island, top of the South Island. Moved down to the Christchurch, so middle of the South Island. When I was quite young, I had a very, tough upbringing. I was in, my mum and dad, I was taken off them, put into the system into New Zealand from 6 months of age until I was 12. Yeah. So, and I think that's where I started to, I guess, not like, rules set for me. I was a rebel child, didn't like authority, didn't like police, didn't like teachers, didn't like any of that. So went against it.
You look at them as if they're the system, as if they're the man, right? It's only till you get a little bit older, you look and you go, fuck, they were actually people that cared and were trying to do something, but they're also bound by rules that they can't operate outside of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, from 6 months until I was 12, went back to my mum, didn't really have obviously a really good relationship there. By the time I was, I think, 15, I was, went out and was living by myself. I just wanted to be myself. Don't have a relationship, with my parents or most of my family really. And yeah, I think that just stems from a really bad childhood. My dad blew himself up, cooking drugs when I was 6 months old and nearly burnt the house down with me in it. So that's one of the catalysts on why I had to go into the system. It wasn't safe for me. On one hand, they were doing me a favor, but on the other hand, I was like, you've ruining my life here. So I jumped between foster parents and foster families. Never got along with most, would fight with siblings. They used to say, you're not our family, the kids would. So I'm like, fuck yous, then I'll run away from home. So that's how I spent, quite a bit of my childhood. Had to, jump between school to school. Was in, school only for like 12 months and then I'd be at a new school. So yeah, that was my childhood really growing up.
It's hard, mate. And like we spoke off camera, I have my own, not direct, but almost direct experiences with that. And, what I've got to say to you, like, first of all, is good on you, mate, because it's not easy to get out of that. It's not easy to screw your head on when everything in the world is chucking stuff at you that's unscrewing your head. So good on you for pulling back in, mate. I've got a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, you don't, I mean, in my teenage years, and young adulthood, I went into a life of crime, kind of the family I was in near the end was in that life. And once you're in that life, it's hard to escape that life. It's a good life in some cases, but I'm glad it was very hard to get out. I'm lucky I got out. If I didn't get out, I would have been either in jail or dead. The people I was around, my closest friends and family are either in jail or dead now. My dad's in jail currently, he's looking at, 12 to 15 years. A lot of people will watch this, some are from the likes of Sydney, Western Sydney. They all know what it's like. I grew up in a similar place. I grew up in Aranui in Christchurch, which, has an area code. That's what you're known by. You're known by, you're in the east side of that place. You're filled with, gangs on every corner. It's survival. And that's all I knew growing up, especially in my teenage years. Growing up it was just about surviving.
Yeah. And I think a product of the environment is a term that people chuck around. People don't look at that and think there's two positives to that. You can be a product of that environment that's pulled things out of it that are positive, even though, you know what I mean? Diamonds are made in dirt, in the rough.
They are.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That's
I mean,
no better than me.
People use your product of your environment as an excuse. I've proven that it is just an excuse. I could have just kept that lifestyle. That lifestyle's great. It's probably making more money at some cases than I was, being a broker, but you're always looking over your shoulder for either the police squad knocking down your door to arrest you to send you to jail for 15 years, or you're stepping on someone's territory and you've got a hit on your head and you're gonna be dead the next day. That's your options in that lifestyle.
What's money if the quality of life isn't there? Do you know what I mean?
At some points, I was looking over my shoulder constantly. Is it my time today? And in some cases, it was nearly my time today. So I am definitely blessed that I pulled myself out of that environment, realized you are the product of your environment, but you can also change that environment. It's up to you to change that environment. No.
Yeah, beautiful. And let's fill in the gaps, right? So you obviously run your own business now. And from what I see this week, you've had you do a lot of very varied stuff. Like I had a look at the deals that went in this week and it's varied, mate. Like, good on you. You do a bit of everything in a very good way. What was that transition like from obviously packing up, leaving that behind and getting to where you are now?
I've been quite pretty quick. Like I've been now in Australia just coming up 5 years. Had a little break out of kind of finance and property. Didn't realize, wanted to have a break. Didn't want to jump back into that type of, I guess, industry. But then I started to miss it quite a bit. So I was like, okay, jump back into it. Did my RG 146 pretty quickly here. So I could, obviously that's around, general advice and insurance. And then you managed to jump back into finance. Someone seen my resume, realized how good it was. I had a brokerage for a little bit of time in New Zealand and in the asset consumer space with a friend. And that went well at the start, but obviously COVID kind of ruined that for us, just like a lot of, people would have experienced that. So then finance is always what I've loved, so I decided to jump back in here. And then I would say the last 4 years really haven't looked back.
Jumping back, and you might not have an answer for this, but obviously you've been kind enough to share that lifestyle and what was like before, what you're doing now. Is there anyone that had a profound effect on you, or anything that you actually learned whilst you were still living like that sticks with you today?
Not really. My partner at the time, and my daughter's mother kind of was, she wasn't from that lifestyle. And at one point before we left New Zealand, that's when it got pretty bad. That's when I, got wind by the police, and by connections of mine that there was some serious money on my head. I'm happy to say it on camera. There was a bullet with my name on it, and it was coming. So I had to kind of protect her as well and protect myself. And I went, that's not worth dying for or, getting caught up. So I went bugger it. Within a week, we were in Australia, never looked back. And then, just obviously wanted to give her a good lifestyle here and myself a good lifestyle. And that's kind of how it all happened. Yeah.
You flew straight into Queensland. Did you go straight to the Goldie?
Straight into the Gold Coast, straight into quarantine, because that was still during COVID. So we landed in Brisbane, police escort to the Gold Coast. We had to stay at the Voco for 2 weeks, wasn't allowed to leave the room. It was, I'd say a 5x5 hotel room, doors and windows locked. You couldn't even go outside. And it was, 2 weeks we had to stay in quarantine for. Had to every 3 days have, COVID tests. It was pretty intense. And then, got out. That's when I didn't work in finance. I decided to try something just different. Went to another company in their sales and marketing. Grew that pretty quick, and then decided, look, I wanted to jump back. Either jump back into property here, or back into finance. So I completed my full real estate license here. I really wanted to jump back into property development because I was really good at that to an extent. And then decided, okay, now I wanted to jump back into finance.
Why did you end up landing on the Goldie?
Lifestyle, yeah. I love Brisbane. A lot of people don't. I actually do like Brisbane, but it is a concrete jungle. Sydney's too overcrowded, and prices are too heavy. Melbourne's too cold. Melbourne's a shithole. Sorry to everyone that lives in Melbourne. So it was gold. It was, it was lifestyle. It was a lifestyle choice here. Yeah.
Obviously grew up in the UK, in the north of the UK, which is colder by any means than anywhere else.
It's just as cold as New Zealand. I'm used to minus 4 degrees in the winter.
So I get it, mate. Like, Melbourne's summer's beautiful. The only thing for me is Melbourne's winter makes you appreciate the summer. So that's what I like about it. But I can see the allure to go to the Gold Coast, 100%.
Yeah. But so, even it's starting to get pretty hot again here. So your fan has to be on each night. You're wearing t-shirts, shorts again, which is cool. So
what do you do that keeps you busy outside of work?
Just the gym, really. Right now, it's just gym mostly. Just getting out there. I love exploring the Gold Coast and hinterlands, that type of scenario. But for me, it's just gym. I come from sport background. So growing up in my teenage years, between everything, I competed 52 times in amateur boxing at the highest levels. I've fought some of New Zealand's best fighters, boxing, jiu-jitsu, multiple jiu-jitsu competitions. Left fighting, went into bodybuilding, won multiple back-to-back bodybuilding competitions in men's physique. And then, so right now it's just gym, really. I'll probably jump back in. I am itching to actually jump back in to a boxing ring and a boxing fight. So that might be on the cards. But I've got my daughter now, so I have to kind of, boxing at one point was my life. I was fighting every weekend. I was training at the highest levels. I was training with, my coach in New Zealand was Carl Weber. He's, trained the likes of Dan Hooker, Israel, a lot of the UFC fighters out of New Zealand. my coach has had something to do with them. I came from, at that point in time, it was a gym called Strike Force. Then it changed to Canterbury Fight Centre. So, between all facets of martial arts from, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, I was doing it all. So I was fighting at one point every few weekends. I've won multiple Golden Glove state championships. And so I might jump back in the ring, I might not, but too many knocks to the head's not good. And yeah, I've got a daughter I've got to look after.
Good for the mental discipline. Like I was actually looking last night in bed because I've moved to a new area, 2 of the Muay Thai gyms near me. Did that for about 2 years. And I started doing it for the first 6 months of my daughter being born. And then you realize that it's not feasible because they have a lot of expectations on you at the end of the day. And there's always somebody in there that's better and more committed than you are. And they always point the finger and go, well, Eric's doing it. He comes at 6, 7 every night.
And I know that, like, I take it, went to go pro, had a few quite a bit bad hand injuries. A lot of the people that I went up in the amateur rankings where they're now professionals, especially here in Australia, like massive 15-0, 15 knockout type of fighters. But I just know the dedication that takes, and I just don't have the time to do that. That takes, morning and night, 4 hours a day kind of situation. I don't have 4 hours a day.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because I always look at like soccer players, or what I'd call a football player, right? And their lifestyle looks fucking mint to me. They wake up, they go and jump in a fucking ice bath or a sauna, they train, and then they play the game on the weekend. And from the outside, it always looks like, what I do to have that lifestyle. But you speak to a lot of people on the inside who are doing it, and it's a chore, it's a headache, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. People doesn't realize in them, it looks good, but it takes a lot of dedication. And when you're running a business, especially how fast we're growing, I just don't have time. So for me, if I'm not working, it's kind of my stress release is going to the gym, throwing around some heavy weights.
I mean, you're in a good place to do it, mate. Like, there's worse places in the world to be stressed. Cue fucking Christchurch and Manchester, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Christchurch is a cold shithole in most cases. Yeah.
So you and Sam obviously co-founded the business together. I know her background. She was at Macquarie, I think.
No, she was ANZ Bendigo. Yeah. When she left Bendigo, she was New South Wales director. She had quite a big, you've seen the numbers, quite a big amount under portfolio at one stage. So yeah, we co-founded the business 15 months ago. It was actually, I was sitting in my daughter's birthing suite. Just had my daughter. After the first night, I was sitting there, my ex at the time was asleep. My daughter was in her cot in the, hospital room asleep. I was sitting on my laptop and I was like, I can't work for someone anymore. I literally messaged Samara. I said, fuck it, let's go. I literally said, fuck it, let's go. Let's register the business and let's get the ball rolling. That's how Aurelius Capital was started, was literally in my daughter's birthing suite just afterwards. Pretty good origin story.
So how did you two come together?
We worked for another brokerage, quite a large brokerage. Bunch of cowboys, really. And we just decided, she turned around, she said, you're too good for this place. You need to get out. You need to get out now. She only lasted 3-4 months there. And then, we didn't look back.
Good on you. And you're doing good things, mate. And I love the presence. I love the brand that you're building. Like, from the outside as well, I can tell you are very yin and yang with each other as well, which is good. You're probably
the business,
much like
we say it all the time, the business doesn't work with just one of us. Like, if she left tomorrow, the business would not work. If I left tomorrow, the business would not work. It's kind of that powerhouse, that yin and yang. She brings something to the table that I can't, and vice versa. In prime example, we wouldn't be in the position we are in, especially to have every single major banking accreditation on the commercial side, which is very hard to get, without her banking tenure. That's the only reason I wouldn't have been able to get it on my own. It's only because she's been in such big roles in the banking world, we were able to get them straight away.
Yeah. All right. Lovely, mate. And what, as you're segmenting and deciding what you guys are going to do going forward, what does that look like?
When we started the business, it was kind of Samara's banking mentality of having full wallet market share. And that's why we are a full service finance brokerage. Each to their own, being a specialist in one area. But our philosophy was, okay, we're going to be a full service brokerage, but then we're going to have the specialists inside the brokerage. We want a client to come in and we want that client to stay with us for everything. We don't want the client to be, and that's the issue, in the industry is you've got an asset broker then that refers it to a mortgage broker, and it's just a client getting passed around to 3, 4 different people to do loans. It just gets messy. We just wanted one client to come in, regardless if it's a business client or a personal loan client, and stay with us because we're able to do everything for them under one roof.
Trouble with that as well is like if you've got 4 parties external, it's so much easier for them to get offered a better split or build up a relationship or fall out or clash heads. Like, whereas, what you're doing really is driven by the customer. Like if you have, if the business grows and there's a fallout or whatever happens, not with you guys, but at least the client is getting looked after in-house. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone knows the cost to acquire a customer, especially in the finance industry. And if you lose a customer, you're now having to spend double the amount to get another customer through the door. I don't want to be spending top dollar to bring a customer in to just lose because we can't do a service, i.e. mortgage. So that's why we decided to do full service. All these marketing gurus in the finance industry that say, niche down. I'm like, fuck off. We're full service. What we're going to do is then we're going to bring specialists per area of the business in, and that's all they focus on. One for consumer, one for private, one for residential mortgages, one for business, one for corporate business. That's how we do it. That's how the biggest ones like Simplicity runs. So if Simplicity is able to do it, someone else is able to do it as well.
You touched on something very, very sensitive, and you've been a big fucking, you've made me laugh a lot. So let's talk about some of the lead gen and the marketing people, because I know that you've had your run-ins with them in the past.
When we started the business, we spent about 65 grand off the bat on marketing agencies that just burnt us. About 4 of them in general that burnt us. Didn't get anywhere, just was burning through, marketing spend. We're willing to spend we invest so much heavily back into the business, and especially in marketing and branding, which a lot don't or willing to do. People are scared. They want to grow, but they're scared to spend money, and scared money doesn't do anything for a business, So we throw a lot of money back into the business, and one's that is in marketing, but we just got burnt. And I realized half of these marketing agencies are fucking idiots that don't even know how to run a business, let alone do good marketing. And, we're the experts in finance. So I was like, I took it upon myself to actually learn the marketing. We brought in a consultant to teach it to us. So now we know how to run all our marketing internally. We're getting to this, the point where we're hiring a marketing manager and a social media manager, just because I just can't. I don't have the time in the day to actually, it's 2 full-time gigs really. But yeah, that's kind of where the hatred for the marketing side in the finance industry came from. And I've called out some of the biggest. I'm friends with some of the biggest as well. Like James Lewis from BizLeads, I'm good friends with him. He does a great job in the market. But there is some shady characters in the market that just take your money and run with it. And I'm one that will call you out for it publicly or to your face. People think, I'm putting on an act when it comes to what I post on social media, but I'll call you a dickhead on LinkedIn, but I'll also call you a dickhead to your face when I see you. I'm a confrontational guy, regardless if it's online or if it's in person.
Is there so if there's someone listening to this now that is at that point where they're like, yeah, I want to spend money, I want to get marketing, what red flags is there that they should be looking out for to make sure that they're not being sold shit?
You need to learn it yourself. Regardless of if it's in finance or any business, the business owner knows the product and knows that industry inside and out. You are the expert. So you're the best person to actually do the marketing. So you just need to bring someone in a consultant manner that can actually just teach it to you. You just pay them a fee. We paid a big fee for them to come in and teach it to us. And it's so easy to learn. People just get scared away from it. And then you've got the marketing agencies that kind of scaremonger you into believing it's hard when it's not. We're just getting to a point now where it's just like, I don't have the time because it's a full-time gig to really be in an ads account, optimizing the ads, doing all the new creatives, filming, all that type of carry on. But if there's people questioning what they should do, I would say learn it yourself. And then you can go back to the agencies and realize, tell them we know what we're doing. You can't pull the wool over our eyes anymore. You can't rip us off. We know, how the ad accounts work. We know what ads work. We know how to make it. We know that side of the business now. That would be my biggest advice when it comes to the marketing side and finance.
The James from BizLeads. I don't know James.
Or
Shout
yeah,
out.
or go to someone like James from BizLeads, or someone that's actually been in the industry for years and years and years. James has been in the industry for a long time, and he works with some of the biggest in the industry. And there's others. Just don't have, I'm not going to give off a whole list of them. But yeah, don't go to someone that's just started their company 6 months ago and must say they're a finance, a marketing finance expert. Like, okay, where's your qualifications? Have you been a broker? Have you worked in a bank? No. Okay, so how are you an expert in finance? You're
Yeah,
not.
I think no matter what it is, a service provider should be doing it because they're passionate, not because they know it's a gold mine. You know what I mean? Like I've spoken to ones before, they're like, yeah, we tried doing the broking, but it's a hard gig. It's like, right, so not being brokers, sorry, they tried being experts, marketing experts into this industry. And it's like the fact that you give up just because it was hard to penetrate shows that the only reason you were doing it is because you thought from the outside it would be easy, not because you
It's like
care. You know what I mean?
it's just like business coaches,
Yeah, yeah.
They don't even have a business, but they're trying to, they're being a business coach. It's like, where's your big successful business? But you're trying to, pay, get us to pay you 10 grand for you to come in and consult on our business to teach us how to be, a better business owner. Fuck off.
Yeah. Well, I think that what I do, anyone could do it. My value proposition is they don't have the time to do it. You know what I mean? Like what I'm
Mhm.
doing is not rocket science. What you're doing is not rocket science. But you know what? You get time poor people that want the best outcome and don't have the time to spend going and chasing it down themselves. So they come to you because they want you to have that long-term context. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't have hair, but if I did, I could, cut my own hair. Does that make me a barber? No,
I
it
reckon you could
doesn't.
bake that off and do a fairly good job of
Look,
it.
I've still got a little bit.
And how are you finding now? Was it 15 months in business you've been going now, yeah?
Yeah, I think we're around
Yeah.
the 15 mark. I kind of take it on my daughter's age. So that's how I
Yeah,
kind of know
yeah.
how long we've been trading for. Yeah. It's been a emotional roller coaster. Business isn't easy, and business is not easy in finance. And a lot of people try and get into the industry. I get messages all the time like, "Hey, I want to jump into finance. It looks so fun." Everyone sees I guess, the glamour life of it, or the highlight reels as such, but people don't realize how much work it takes. Long nights, stressful days. You have to be delusional in business to win, but you also have to be very delusional in business and in finance to win. Especially in Australia, the markets are so competitive. Some McDonald's worker tomorrow can have their Cert 4 and, they're in finance. It's the barrier to get into finance in Australia is a joke, and it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. Just like property as well. Look how many shitty real estate agents are selling houses. But look how many shitty finance brokers there are in all sectors of finance, clowns. It's just like if you're people think I hate all mortgage brokers. I don't. I love a lot of mortgage brokers. I've got good friends. I've got the likes of Joseph from It's Simple Finance, Peter Savage, actually decent mortgage brokers, residential mortgage brokers in the industry. But then you've got these mortgage brokers coming into the mortgage industry and they're refinancing someone's house to save them 0.01%. And restarting their whole, mortgage cycle again. Sorry, you're a muppet. Get out of the industry. You're not doing any favors there. You're not, they think, oh, I've saved it. What, you saved the client $2, $3, $5 on their home loan per month? Fuck off.
All right. And what's been the most rewarding part of doing what you guys are doing now? Like, because like you said, there's long nights, mate. And I think that's what people don't appreciate is the reason why you do them long nights is one, because you want to get an outcome for the client, but two, it's so fucking competitive. If that you don't put that work in, they can go
Yeah.
elsewhere. You know what I mean?
I think it's really now we're getting to a point, especially in the last few weeks, where we're now getting our name in the industry for the business and individually is growing quite rapidly. And we're getting a lot of opportunities. We've proven ourselves time and time again that we get stuff done. We're the people that if something can't get done, bring it to us, we'll get it done. And we've pulled off some very big deals. And now we're getting the opportunities to get even the bigger deals when we're talking, 8, 9-figure transactions. And we're able to handle them. So that's the most rewarding part is starting to get, I guess, into that new bracket of lending where it's, actual corporate banking, you're talking to private, either very big private lenders or very institutionalized banks at the highest levels, and able to handle 80, 90, $100 million transactions. I think across our desk this week, as you seen on my posts, like It's well north of $100 million worth of deals. We came out of a meeting yesterday for an $80 million business acquisition deal. The other broker couldn't do it or handle it or didn't have the accreditations. We got off that call. We were able to make one phone call to one of the big major banks in the corporate side of the business. And we're now having chats with them next week, and that deal will probably actually go ahead quite fast. We're getting very big, complex deals when it comes to big developments, medium-sized developments, very complex in nature, and we're able to handle them and we're able to get them actually approved and settled. That's the most rewarding part. I don't like small deals at all. Don't get me excited anymore for big deals. I want to chase these huge deals, especially living in the Gold Coast. We've got such big, apartment buildings. I remember last year I said to Samara on the phone, I said, I want to play that field. I want to be the one within the next 5-10 years that, we're the finance brokers that, are putting these big buildings in the sky and financing them at the highest levels. I can't say too much, but that is starting to happen now, which we're quite fortunate about. And I hope in the next 5 years, that's what we're known for. I hope we're able to start competing with the likes of these bigger players in the market. I'm not going to drop too many names there, but everyone knows who they are. But that's where I see the company going, and that's what we do every single day. That's all we're pushing for. We're not liking these small deals. The businesses, especially in the business space, that are turning over under $2 million, they're a pain in the ass to deal with. They're counting every dollar, they're bitching and moaning. These big businesses that are turning over, 10 mil plus, they know the cost of business, they know the cost of funds, but they're to get an outcome, and they pay us well to get that outcome done. I made that post about, sitting in the meeting 2 weeks ago with the CEO of a major bank here, and he thought I was charging my client $1.5 million for a deal. These types of commissions happen. People don't realize, and it's normal. People are paying for an outcome, and them types of levels, we're able to get it done. We're not wanting to try play small anymore. We're playing big.
Respect it. And I think a lot of that plays into your authenticity as well, because it's important. People want to deal with people. That's why people are not going to the banks. They're going to the brokers, because they respect that people have lived lives. They don't have this front. They don't have this big brand behind them. If you were sat looking at somebody now who wants to go out and be a broker, and they've got all the skills, they've got the life experience, but they just can't rip that corporate veil off, what would your advice be?
It's hard. It's like you walk into rooms and you walk into some of these association events, and you've got guys in fucking suits, that are two sizes too big, that are fucking musty, smell like shit. I rock in jeans and nice fitted shirt, and they're looking at me like I'm the weird guy. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just be yourself. I rock up to meetings sometimes and they're like, oh, thank fuck you're not in a suit. I would have hated if you were in a suit. I'm like, it's not me. People buy from people. They're not going to buy from you just because you've got a fucking $200 suit that's too big, and you don't even know how to tie your own tie. And I rip on them people all the time in the industry, because that's all the industry is. It's a cockfest most of the time. Everyone's shaking hands thinking they're the biggest in the industry. And trust me, the ones that you think are doing well aren't doing well. It's they only want to show you what they want to show you.
It's always one of them things, isn't it, right? Like, you don't want to be the person in the front. Like, you want to be the person who can just step away and no one knows who you are. They're the ones that people need to look out for.
Yeah. I guess if someone's looking at coming into the industry, my biggest advice is be yourself. Don't pretend like you're someone you're not. When it comes to posting content, don't post boring fucking content. I look at people all the time. They especially on LinkedIn, they're posting all the, trying to give all this advice or, trying to give value. And you're looking at, they don't even get one like or one comment or one thanks, mate. And then I post something, left of field, and it blows up. And then off the stem of that, though, we get business coming through. So all these marketing gurus in our space are saying, do it this way, do it this way. And I'm doing opposite, and we're still getting business. We're getting business through the door constantly, and we're getting big business coming through the door. And that's why some of them hate me.
Because stands out, right? Like, it's not rocket science. It works.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see that with my content alone. We're seeing that with Samara's content now. I get on average between 30 to 50 new connections per day. I can go a month without posting. I post one post and get, 10 to 20,000 impressions on it. And business comes through.
Do you know what I'd love to see? and I get you to show me one day, I will never show anyone else, is all of the ones that Samara's like absolutely fucking not. Because there's a lot of them I can imagine.
Samara's going to be listening to this, and guys, trust me, she has to stop a lot. I'll say some diabolical stuff that would probably get us cancelled. You're lucky. You're lucky she's there kind of saying, Rory, please don't post that. And people have said it to me quite a bit. They go, are you worried about getting an accreditation taken off you, or worried about not being able to get into something? No, I'm not. If someone wants to try to take an accreditation off me for speaking freely, I'll double down on that. And that's going to be your worst nightmare, regardless if you're a lender, an association or something. Bugger it. If I'm an honest person, I'll say it here. I called out the advisor less than a year ago on their bullshit. We've still been nominated for stuff this year, so we're not getting penalised for it. And if someone wants to penalise for me, good luck, because I'll just double down on it and I'll start calling out names and I'll start doing that type of stuff. So I think some people are probably a little bit scared in some ways to not poke me too much, and lenders, I've had lenders reach out to me being like, hey, you know quite a bit in the industry, your head's, kind of down on the ground, you know what's going on. And they respect me for it. They ask me for advice, what should we do here? We're fortunate enough to now be in rooms where lenders and stuff are asking for our opinions and helping work on new products and, stuff like that. More in that advisory piece. And that's where the business is starting to get to now, more into that debt advisory and stuff like that. Samara is very qualified. I'm very qualified. Both of us have our RG146s, financial planning, etc. Samara doesn't use it. But so yeah, we're definitely qualified in that space to talk, and yeah, that's where the business is going in some ways. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever get cancelled. Hopefully not.
Yeah, I'm not cancelling you. Don't worry. I'm semi-cancelable.
Yeah, we did say at the start of this we won't go.
Yeah, and I think we've been all right, to be honest. Like we've painted a fairly PG picture ourselves. Now, mate, again, going back to your childhood, a lot of respect for you for breaking the mold and reflecting and looking around. There's going to be someone out there, they may not listen to this. Fingers crossed they do. If there's someone sat at that fork, that crossroad, that juncture, and they're going, do I carry on doing this or do I do something else? Like, what would I know your advice is, definitely don't fucking carry on doing it, but what would your advice be to break the mold and get out of it?
I guess speak to someone that has broken that mold and got out of it. Don't go for advice to someone that hasn't lived that lifestyle. I've lived a very, very bad lifestyle. You don't want to, see or hear the stuff I've had to do or been witness to. For people that are in that lifestyle, or, a kid wanting to, I've got two pathways. What way do they take? I'd be saying, go speak to someone that has lived that life and got out of that life and was able to start a new life like I have. That would be my biggest advice.
I've seen stuff myself. Like when people get to a certain age, they're burnt out. People forget about them. It's not forgiving.
Yeah, some of my closest friends are either dead or in jail. That's it. That's your two options in that lifestyle. You either get caught eventually or you get taken out, and that's all it is.
For the ones that are still with us, mate, I hope they're working towards being reformed, and there's an opportunity for them when they get out, because everyone does deserve a second chance at the end of the day. Like, we're not, the sins of the father, as they say, like, and what you've done, like, people can be reformed. No one's too far gone.
I've got lots of friends still that have got out of that lifestyle and still thank me or say, you're a huge inspiration, or you've given, motivation for me to stop doing that. We see the stuff that you're doing now. We want that. So trying to lead by example.
Good on you, mate. Well, look, like I said, I've got a lot of respect for it. Look, thanks for coming on here, mate. It's been really good speaking to you. Looking forward to getting out in front of you as well when I come up to the Goldie. My intention is to do like a second round and really get out and meet everyone.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing me on board. Yeah, hopefully we don't get cancelled after.
We're all right, mate. We've got some more stuff to talk about when it stops rolling.
Yeah.
Good on you, mate. All right, well, thank you, Rory. Cheers, mate. Take care. Bye.
You too. Thanks, mate. Bye.